Hi, it's Jake at Canadian Cutting Edge, and today we're going to take a look at the Enlan M022. It's the knife with the cartoon characters on it. I'm going to bring the camera in nice and close so we can take a good look at this knife. Let's go. Okay, so now you're nice and close. This is that Enlan M022. It's a good looking knife, isn't it? Everyone wants to see it get flicked open. Hear that sound? All right, let's get into the details. Right now, this is April 26, 2016. This knife is available at GearBest for only $7.82. That's in US dollars. That's a better deal than I could find anywhere. But it gets better than that. If you go to GearBest and take a look for the M022, you'll find that it has GearBest has this thing called Buy Together and Save. You can get this knife along with the Gonzo 727M in orange. I'm gonna get a picture of that for you. Actually, I've got a sample. I'll go get it and bring it back. I'm just gonna pause for a second. Did you miss me? Ha! I was gone for not even a second for you guys. So this is the Gonzo. Here you go. I'm not sure if I'm close enough for you to focus in there. Trust me, it's the G727M. It's the mimic of the Ontario Rat 1. So if you've been curious about Gonzo's mimic of that knife, you can get it only in orange, along with this knife, for $18.62 at GearBest. This knife alone, the 727, is normally 18 cents cheaper than the whole deal together. Let me rephrase that another way. If you get both of these knives through that Buy Together and Save, you'll be buying the Gonzo for regular price and getting this knife for 18 cents. That's the way marketing likes to talk. In any way, it's a great savings, but you have to look for this knife that we're talking about today first. The Enlan M022. I'll put a link in the description below so you can find that thing and look for that Together and Save. So let's take a close look at this little beauty. Let's start with the lock. The liner lock on mine is perfect. It just fills up the entire thickness of the liner. Hopefully you can see that there nice and clearly. And it's got all that room to wear in. It locks up nice. It doesn't wiggle from side to side, up and down. It was a little bit loose when I got it. But with this Torx, I could tighten it up a little bit. I put some thread locker back in there so it won't come loose again. Once I did that, it's just perfect. It locks up at a great spot. Lots of room for wear, holds it very nice, loose enough that I can still flick it really easily and get that nice, you get a lot of fun out of doing that, at least most of us do. So lots of room there. It's other good thing about this liner lock is notice there's no jimping. This little knife doesn't need it. It comes loose perfectly fine. It's very easy to open and close with one hand. It doesn't need jimping there. In fact, there's no jimping anywhere at all in this knife. Okay, so what else are we going to look at on this knife? I'll flip my notes over here. The scales. The scales on this thing are made out of G10. It's a thin layer of black on top of yellow so that they could mill out these cartoon characters. I think this guy looks like a bunny. Yes, I'm a big man who said bunny. Looks like a rabbit, and I've got no idea what this guy's supposed to look like. But the scales are perfect on this thing. The way they line up with the liner. I'm going to say something that's going to be pretty radical. This is the best job I've seen on liners meeting up with scales ever. It's just perfect. Every single edge, every single spot, there's nothing sharp, there's nothing out of place, there's nothing even out by a hair. They're perfect. The best I've ever seen. There's a little swell here in the size of the frame that makes it fill the hand a little. For a small knife, it adds that little bit extra to give a really good amount of security when you're holding it. It's got two pillars for the construction other than the lockup and the pivot. It just has these two pillars. The liner has no holes in it to lessen the weight. Would have been nice if they could have. As it is right now, it's just under 4 ounces, just under 3 ounces. I don't have it on my notes. I did it from memory. I'll be right back again. Okay, I'm back. So that's zeroed out. It's 2.9 ounces. In grams, for the rest of us in the world, 81 grams. So it's fairly light the way it is. A little bit lighter, could have been even nicer if they would have milled out some of that liner. But as it stands right now, it's pretty good. Very grippy. This G10 looks like it's not much to it, but for the size of it, it's just got the perfect amount of grippiness. You can hold the thing. You don't need any jimping that I mentioned before. It holds in really well. This front choil here and this, a little bit of a belly there, like I mentioned before, together, they're just perfect. No hot spots. Either hand, it's very comfortable. It's a little bit better in the right than in the left, and this is a right-handed knife all the way. I'll talk about the reasons for that now. The clip. The clip is right-hand side only, because if they would have put it on the left-hand side, it would cover the cartoon characters. Right hand, tip up. That's the only way it comes. The clip is quite nice. It's pretty secure, and it holds nice in the pocket. It has just enough retention to hold the knife well in the pocket that you don't lose it without so much that it's a pain getting it out. I don't like how deep this thing is. So actually the opposite of deep. It rides very high in the pocket. That's a good 15% of the knife sticking out of your pocket. Makes it easy to grab, yes, but it's very easy for people to see that you're carrying a knife. Let's turn our attention to this blade. Ambidextrous thumb studs, no jimping on the spine, a nice swedge on either side there, a slight drop to the blade here, a wonderful belly, and a flat area back here. That thing is very stabby, isn't it? That thing looks like it just wants to stab. It's just under 3 inches, just over 2 3/4 inches. So those of you who are under law restrictions for knives needing to be the blade under 3 inches, this thing will match that no matter how they measure it. You're going to be fine. Actually, these swedges, I just really like them. The accent, how they accent the blade. If they weren't there, this knife wouldn't look half as nice as it does. Those things just set it right off, at least in my eyes. Oh, the grind. I put some flat things, some flat steel. It's a flat grind. It's a halfway flat grind. I don't think it's there's any curve in there at all. It really feels like a flat grind to me. Somebody else might be able to get more details and be able to tell better than that. But from what I have, it looks like a flat grind. And there's enough of the spine here, flat areas here that most of your sharpening systems can grab on, and you'll be able to sharpen it, unless you're one of those guys who sharpens on a stone freehand. If you're one of those, you're really going to like this tiny little sharpener's choil so that you can sharpen right to the very end. And good for you if you can do that. And I think that's about a 20 degrees on each side for the grind for that. This thing cuts like nobody's business. It just goes through paper like it's not there, even through newsprint, magazine paper. But it cuts real things too. I was whittling on some wood, and you get your thumb on here, and it just goes and wants to keep going. I've got a little bit of wood here I can show you. I'm holding it in my left hand now. My wife doesn't want me to put too much mess in the house, but there you go. The heat treat's very good. Fred on Gear Obsession likes to do the stabby test, where he stabs and he twists back and forth, and he stabs and he twists back and forth, and he shows you that the tip is perfectly fine. These Enlans and Gonzos and Sanrenmus are just done so well that this test just, there's no failing it. And these locks are so good that I don't mind doing this. I've got no fear of it closing in on me. But that being said, I do have a glove that's supposed to protect me from any cuts that I'm going to be using for these kinds of tests in the future once it comes in. Okay, what else can we talk about this knife? The only thing that's really missing, I'm not sure if I miss it or not, is there's no lanyard hole. There's plenty of room for it here for where the blade comes in. You can sort of see it on that angle. You can see where the tip of the blade is coming in right here. And there's all this room after this stud. For a hole that's big enough for 550 cord, I'm sure you could get that in there. If I do end up changing these scales, if I get tired of the cartoony look, I'm going to put on some wooden scales and I'll put a lanyard hole on it right away as well. I do have a woodworking hobby as well as knife making, so I'm going to see if I might do that. But only if I get tired of those cartoons. I know they don't give me any man cred. Actually, they take some of my man cred away, but I kind of like those cartoon characters there. They're cute. All right. How am I going to recommend this knife? It all depends on what you want to use it for. If you need a nice small knife with good grippiness, that's 3 inches or less, this is a really good choice. If you're looking for a secondary knife instead of a primary carry and then you want a secondary carry, this is a really good choice for that. If your primary carry can only be 3 inches or less and you need something that's going to be stabby, if you just want to get this knife because you think it's a good little knife, then remember that deal I talked about at the beginning of this review. You can get these two for the price of this one. Details in the description below. So there you go. This is the Enlan M022. Wait, hold on. I didn't tell you what kind of metal this was. I don't know if we can get this on camera, if you can quite see it or not, if I get the light just right. This is 8CR13 MOV. So if you watch to the end, you finally get to find out what that is. The other way you can find out is, you just go to the GearBest link and take a look. Information's all there. I don't need to read it off to you like a list and, just this detail, this detail, this detail, the way some reviews are. I like more to talk about the knife itself. Before I close, also this side of the pivot, that's just, I like the work that they did on that, the way they cut it so you see it glimmer. There you go. If I move it back and forth like this, the blade shimmers and even the pivot end glimmers. This end, the metal's a little more of a dull kind of, I'll try to shine it up a little bit. It's a nice knife. If you're looking for a nice little knife, buy it. I recommend it. I'm going to be reviewing some more small knives. I think I've got 3 more small knives that I'm going to review. And then I'm going to do a video on 5 small knives, my 7036, this knife, and those 3 others. And from those 3, I'm going to let you know which one I think is my favorite for a small knife. Time to go, guys. Remember, always cut towards your chum and not your thumb. Bye now.